Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I am Sean. Today I'm doing my first book haul of 2024. So let's get into it. First, usually I end these videos with some signed books, but I do not have many this time, just two, and they're not altogether that great. So let's just begin with the signed books. Now, as backstory, I have previously seen for several months, like really around a year or more, a signed book at the bookstore by Lehane, who is the author of Shutter Island, which I had read and I thought it was really just okay at best. I didn't really like it, of course, naturally, knowing me, I don't like most of what I read. So there was a signed book by him, but I've always kind of been reluctant about getting it. But a few months ago, I saw this, a signed copy of Shutter Island. So that just kind of made me think, okay, I gotta get it. Because at first I was just thinking, you know, the other signed book, well, a signed book by Lehane, the author of Shutter Island. But this time I actually found a signed copy of Shutter Island. So that's sweet. So I got it. Next, I was kind of hoping at some point to find a signed book by this author. I'd never read him because he is a fantasy author, but I've heard his name for quite a while. And I was in the back room, like with the online books, and I saw this, a signed copy of The Slow Regard of Silent Things by Patrick Rothfuss. So, Rothfuss is most famous for another book I got by him, In the Name of the Wind. So just a paperback I got, just because this is like his most popular book. So, going to read this one first. And this one, the signed book, is like book 4 in that same series, but it's just like a short book, and yeah. So anyway, I'm not much a fan of fantasy, so I've never read this author before. I do not know what I'll think. I'm not really into it, but I'm into signed books. So when I saw a signed copy of a Patrick Rothfuss book, I had to get it. And I think just yesterday at the bookstore, this was a brand new book that came into the bookstore, The Name of the Wind. So I got it. Next, not a top 1000 book, but this is an author where I want to read every book by him, really. And this book I saw just came in, so it's The Book of Jamaica by Russell Banks. So last year, or no, 2 years ago, I read The Sweet Hereafter by Russell Banks, and I thought it was one of the most perfect, beautifully written books I've ever read. So because of that, I want to read every book by Russell Banks. So this is one of his earlier books. So excited about that. The Book of Jamaica. Next, this is another fantasy book, which I'm not into, but I have one signed book by this author. And the reason I got it is because I was watching a booktube video, and this other booktuber was really commending this author's world building. Like, he pointed out, like, among good world builders, he thought this author kind of stood head and shoulders apart from a lot of other, like, fantasy writers. So that was real high praise. And then just like a few days later, I saw a signed book by that author at the bookstore. So I got it, but I have never heard of anyone talking about the signed book that I got. I think the book I got was Forest Mage, but this author is most known for this series. So it's Robin Hobb, Assassin's Apprentice, the first book in the Farseer series. So this is the series everyone talks about with Robin Hobb. So because of that, I don't really want to begin reading her by reading the other book I got. It's part of a series. The first book is called Forest something, and I think the other book is Forest Mage. But I've never heard anyone talking about those books, so I think those may be very obscure books. So this is what she's most known for, so this is kind of what I want to read, so I could get a better judge of this writer and her world building especially, and see what that booktuber was talking about. So Assassin's Apprentice by Robin Hobb. Next, I just discovered this is book 2 of a series, but it is off the top 1000 list, 1000 books to read before you die by James Mustich, and it's Kristin. Oh wait, no, that's not the author. The author is Sigrid Undset. And the title is Kristin Lavransdatter, the second. Oh, that's the second, book 2. The Mistress of Husaby. Anyway, so yeah, this is book 2 in the series. I think it's a trilogy. So unfortunately, I gotta go out and find book 1. So yeah, bummer. Next, this is a book off the top 1000 list, and kind of the story behind this one is a customer brought in some books to try to sell them to the bookstore, and he didn't take some of them. So I was taking the box of books out to the lady's car, like the books that the bookstore owner didn't want, and I saw this book on the top of the box. And so I was like, oh, I've been looking for that book. So she's like, oh, well, I'll sell it to you. And so I bought it for $5 off her. But it is, oh God, I don't know how to pronounce it. Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, Half of a Yellow Sun. So this is a book off the top 1000 list. And I had previously read Adichie's book Americana. And I really just thought it was okay. So not enthusiastic about it. I guess I thought there was definitely some potential with the writer's ability. And this is the book off the top 1000 list, so presumably it is a better book, hopefully, than Americana. So Half of a Yellow Sun. Bought it off the customer myself for $5. So yeah, the bookstore owner didn't take it just because of the size of the book. It just basically won't fit easily onto the shelves. So he passed on it, but I wanted it. I've been looking for it for years, so I got it. Next, this is a book. I've seen a lot of this book basically at the bookstore, but I've always been like reluctant about getting it because the book on the top 1000 list is like the complete whatever, you know, the whole story. And a lot of the books that I see at the bookstore are maybe just like selections of that series. So I finally saw this at the bookstore and I got it, but it's the complete Sherlock Holmes. So a 2-volume book. Because yeah, a lot of the other books are just like, you know, a few stories of them, or like, you know, part 1 or something like that. Or like the memoirs of Sherlock Holmes or whatever. So the thing on the top 1000 list is the complete Sherlock Holmes. So the complete Sherlock Holmes in 2 volumes. I'm a little bit pessimistic because when I took it up to the counter, the bookstore owner was saying something about how it was either him or someone else was saying how they just did not get the appeal of Sherlock Holmes. So we'll see how it goes. Next, this is a book off the top 1000 list, and another booktuber has actually kind of, I don't know if it's requested this book, but he's curious what my thoughts on this book would be. But it is, oh, what's his first name? Fyodor Dostoevsky, Notes from Underground. So, top 1000 book. I have another book by Dostoevsky. I don't know, is it Crime and Punishment, I think is the one I have. So, Notes from Underground, another top 1000 book. So I'm definitely excited to read it, to give it a try so I could post a review so that booktuber can see what my thoughts on the book are. So this will probably be high up on my to-read list. I may begin reading it today. Next, this is kind of another book I've been looking for a few years really, because it's like the first book I think that I am missing on the top 1000 list, like in the A's. It's the first A that I do not have a copy of. So I've always kind of been looking for this book, and I finally actually found it in the, I think it's the political science section, not like the general fiction section or whatever. But it is Svetlana Alexievich. I'm sorry, I'm completely butchering my Russian. Is that Russian, or is that, could be, I don't know, Estonian or Lithuanian? I don't know. I'm sorry, I'm rambling. But anyway, Svetlana Alexievich, Voices from Chernobyl, The Oral History of a Nuclear Disaster. So, a book on the top 1000 list, and Next, I am really pessimistic about this one for the length, and apparently it is short stories, which I am not a fan of, but it is, oh god, it's so heavy. William Trevor, The Complete Stories. This is a book on the top 1000 list, unfortunately. Look at this thing, it's a mammoth book. So when I showed that to the bookstore owner, he was kind of like, ooh, that's a good one. And I think he said it may have been funny, I don't know, but he definitely said be patient with it, and he really likes William Trevor, so we'll see. The length is worrisome to me, and short stories, not a fan of them, so we'll see. I'm really pessimistic because it's just so long, and short stories, I don't like short stories, but we'll see. Next is another top 1000 book, The Collected Stories of Eudora Welty. Do not know a thing about it. Winner of the National Book Award. Whew, I thought that was going to say winner of the Pulitzer. Do not know anything about it. Really no expectations, but kind of doubtful that I'll like it. Just because, and I don't know, it's probably short stories, so not a fan. Next, this is actually a local author. Like, I grew up in this author's hometown or whatever, and I may have actually met this guy, I don't know. I think I may have gone to like martial arts lessons with this guy's wife for several years, I don't know. But it is Tom Robbins, Another Roadside Attraction. So kind of a local author, and there are several signed books by Tom Robbins at the bookstore, including this book, which is one of his more popular books, Another Roadside Attraction. It says at the top, Even Cowgirls Get the Blues. That's another popular book by him. I think my dad said it was made into a movie. The bookstore owner, his favorite book by Tom Robbins is Jitterbug Perfume. So anyway, this is the one my dad really likes. So giving it a try. It's my first try by a Tom Robbins book, which is kind of weird, just that he's a local author and I've never read him, and he's of course real popular at the bookstore. People come in for his books all the time, and there's several signed books by him, so it's kind of like I should get them because it's, you know, a signed book by a local author who's pretty prominent, but I've always been reluctant because all of the signed books by this author are like probably over 80 bucks or over $100 or maybe even over like 200 bucks. I mean, they're pretty expensive just because they're in high demand, especially here in this area. So I'll read it and see how I like it, and if I really love it, then maybe I will go ahead and spring for the signed book, but we'll see. My dad is also real curious to see what I think of Tom Robbins because I think he really likes him, so we'll see how it goes. Next, this is a book I've seen for a while at the bookstore, and I've kind of been reluctant because most of the editions are real long, and this one is just kind of long but with real small print. And it looks really weird, like just occasionally there's, I don't know, is that poetry or whatever, so I don't know what this is, if this is like a novel with poems or exactly what this book is. But anyway, it is Gargantua and Pantagruel by Francois Rabelais. Do not know a thing about it. Kind of pessimistic about it, especially now that I saw it has like poems or something inside it. So we'll see. But it is a top 1000 book. Next, another top 1000 book, and kind of pessimistic about it because of the length, but it is The Life and Opinions of Man, my pronunciation is bad today. The Life and Opinions of Tristram Shandy by Lawrence Stern. Kind of pessimistic about it. There's a skeleton with a, what is it, a scythe or something, like the Grim Reaper's weapon, and an old guy like, I've come for you. And it's like, oh no, a skeleton. Anyway, yeah. Another top 1000 book, kind of, I don't know about it, but it's The Voyages, thank you baby, The Voyages of Dr. Dolittle by Hugh Lofting. So we'll see how it goes. Next is another top 1000 book, Call It Sleep by Henry Roth. Do not know anything about this author, but seen his books quite a bit, so we'll see how it goes. Next, another top 1000 book. This one the bookstore owner has not read, but it is Misread, Village School. So this is the first book in a series, so we'll see how it goes. Fortunately, it's fairly short. Last of all is another top 1000 book, and it is Grimm's Tales for Young and Old, The Complete Stories. So yeah, I'm kind of a little bit pessimistic because there are so many. So I don't know if I may just wind up reading like the ones I've heard of or what, just because there's so darn many of them. We'll see how it goes. Maybe if you guys have read any of these stories, like let me know which ones you really like, so that way I can make sure I prioritize reading those stories. So yeah, Grimm's Tales for Young and Old, The Complete Stories. Anyway, that is it for the book haul, so thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!
2, 3, 4.